preservation of and increased access to the 92nd Street Y Humanities Audio Archives is generously funded by the National Endowment for the Humanities.
Good evening. My name is Helene Geismar-Katz, and I'm director of the Center for Adult Life and Learning here at the 92nd Street Y, and it is my pleasure to welcome you here this evening. Before I introduce the moderator, I just want to tell you about a few things that are coming up. On Wednesday, May 12th, we are having the second in our series on hate. That will be William F. Buckley speaking about In Search of Anti-Semitism. It's an interesting reaction. Okay, on to something a little less controversial, although who knew? Okay. On April 1st and April 8th, let me hear the reaction to this. Vera Zorina will be speaking on Balanchine, the Broadway and Hollywood years. This year is the 10th anniversary of George Balanchine's death, and we will be commemorating that by Miss Zorina, who was both his wife and his leading lady on screen and off, speaking about their collaboration together on screen and all that went on and how he was able to take his genius from the stage onto the screen. And it is, having spoken with her often, it is quite a story, and it really does open your eyes to the great genius of the man. And then finally, I just want to tell you about Tuesday, May 11th. That will be our Rosenthal lecture. This year, Leon Botstein, president of Bard College, will be speaking on America's educational crisis, what should be done. So if any of those interest you, please do go to our box office and purchase a ticket. We like to see you here as often as possible. Now, to the real subject at hand. It is my pleasure to introduce to you our moderator for this evening and for this series. She was educated first with her bachelor's at Sarah Lawrence and received her master's and PhD from the Department of Fine Arts at Harvard University. She is a recipient of many awards and honors, among them the George and Linda Kaufman Award for Exceptional Service from the National Gallery of Art. She has been visiting professor and professor at a variety of great institutions of higher learning, including she was chair of the art history department at the University of California, Santa Cruz. She has also been curator of 20th century art at the National Gallery of Art and is currently consultant to the Department of 20th Century Art at the Metropolitan Museum. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Nan Rosenthal.
Thank you, Helene. You'd think I was the artist speaking. Kiki Smith was born in 1954 in Nuremberg, West Germany, and raised in suburban New Jersey. She is the first of 3 daughters born to Jane Lawrence Smith, an actress and opera singer whose career took her often to the many stages of West Germany in the early 1950s. She's also the daughter of the late Tony Smith, the famed minimalist sculptor and admired teacher at Hunter College of Art and Architecture. On the subject of her parents, which Kiki Smith does not intend to discuss tonight, and indeed her paternal grandfather, who was an altar carver, she has said, and quote, "If you come from a family of art, you come from the idea that it's a normal practice to be doing. It's a language of expression as speaking or doing mathematics or writing is." About her mother's role, Smith noted recently that she has been very supportive and that she has a beautiful sense of things physically. In 1974, at age 20, Kiki Smith moved to New York City, where she has lived ever since, although recently she's done a lot of traveling for exhibitions of her work, and this semester she is teaching sculpture at Yale. She has a studio on the Lower East Side. A curator friend of mine described it to me recently as a hippie paradise. Very early in her career, Smith was a member, with artists such as Jenny Holzer, John Ahern, and Mike Lier, of collaborative projects known as CoLab, an artist group committed to political involvement and social change. Typically, CoLab showed its work in non-art world contexts, and in its subsequently well-known show of 1980, the Times Square show, Kiki exhibited the first of her works based on human anatomy. It was an isolated wax hand covered by moss, floating in a mason jar filled with dark green water. Ever since, the human body, both male and female, the body's outer shell, its parts, its inner organs, its systems, the liquids it produces, have been the main visual vehicle, if not exactly the subject, of her art, which is to say her sculpture and also her drawings, collages, and prints. Much of Smith's sculpture is what she terms life-sized, and some is what she calls doll-sized. She works in an exceptionally wide range of mediums: cast glass, cast bronze, paper, paper mache, wax, stuffed sewn muslin, in a manner that is simultaneously beautiful, fragile, frightening, and at times disgusting. In 1985, in a contemporary variation on Renaissance artists who studied corpses to better understand anatomy, Kiki furthered her work by training as an emergency medical technician, an ambulance driver and ambulance attendant. In 1988, she had her first exhibition at the Fawbush Gallery, now on Grand Street in Soho, where she continues to exhibit. And in the past several years, she has had numerous one-person exhibitions at museums in Europe and the United States, among them the Institute of Contemporary Art in Amsterdam, the Moderna Museet in Stockholm, the Williams College Art Museum, the Wexner Center, etc. In 1990, Smith showed in the Museum of Modern Art's Project series, and the Modern also owns her work, as does the Whitney, the Art Institute of Chicago, the Los Angeles Museum of Contemporary Art, and the Tate Gallery in London, among a great many other institutions. Later this spring, she will show at the Anthony Dauphin Gallery in London. At present in New York, she has 3 works in the Whitney Biennial, and I expect we will see these in slide form in the course of this evening. I'm very, very pleased to welcome Kiki Smith.
Thank you. I kept telling Nan not to say too much because then I wouldn't have anything to say anymore myself. Oh, okay, here's my clock. Because usually I like to try to say how I was from New Jersey, and I'm 39 years old. Oh my. And I didn't really intend to be an artist. I went to high school and then I went to trade school for baking afterwards. For industrial baking, and then I went to California to live with a rock band for a while, and then I came back, and I think I just, I would really like to be a medieval historian, but I was too lazy, so I just sort of ended up being an artist by kind of just because I didn't know what else to do, and I liked making things. So, and then when I first came to New York, I made things with sticks and fluorescent paint and muslin and sewing stuff, and then I had a boyfriend that was a rock and roll guitar player, and so I made paintings of his guitar because I was in love with him, and then and then I made paintings of cigarette packs for about a year or two because I was trying to learn perspective, because I don't also have any particular talent for I'm not good at drawing and stuff like that, so I tried for a long time, and but then, and then I just met my peers in that time. And then, and most of my peers ended up actually that they all went to the Whitney program. But I didn't go there. And, that's so funny. And then, but then one day, I really liked, I always wanted to be an artist, like when I started being one, then I said, okay, I'll be an artist, but really I would like to make things for Macy's kind of. So I wanted to like kind of use art as like a thing to go through it and then like make home furnishings and stuff. So I used to make all the furniture in my house and stuff, and I made these like bedspreads for my bed and pillowcases, and they were of cut up arms and legs and kind of like decorative pattern stuff, because that's really what I like the best. Not funny. And then, and then I thought, oh, it could be a painting, and then I thought like, oh, making up cut up arms and legs, like it was this way for me to really talk about my real life, and like that felt very connected to me emotionally or something. And so I bought Grey's Anatomy, and I started just copying things out of Grey's Anatomy, like the microscopic kind of nerve endings and different stuff, and they're all colorful. And then I just kind of got into it, and I didn't get into it like to do anything particularly, but it seemed like a really good kind of landscape or something where I could kind of talk about my real life being here through the body. And so now I could start, I guess. Can you turn off those lights? Thanks. So this was this piece that Nan was talking about, and I was John Ahern was like learning how to cast bodies, and so he's like practicing on everybody. And I saw this. I was walking across Delancey Street, and I saw this like latex hand in the gutter, and I thought, oh, I'd take it to John for a present, that maybe he could use it. And it was dirty and wet from the rain, and then I kind of liked it, and I kept it. And put it in fish water from my fish tank, and put it in this mason jar, and so that the moss grew on the hand. And it was like I was like 28, I guess, by then, and my father had just died, and so it was like that was the biggest thing that had ever happened to me in my life. And so I was trying to figure out like what I could do to make that like that's an okay thing to happen and stuff. So I thought, well, like weird things that consume life or consume death, like we feed on killing things and stuff. And so this was like a model, like trying to make things that would be like models of like how there's this continuation of existence or something. And this is another one. This is like a little skull made out of ceramic. Then I grew ivy out of it. This was a quote from Aquinas none of these things are chronological, but this was like something I really liked, and it said, nothing is corrupted except by its form being separated from the matter, and the subject composed of matter and form ceases to be actual when the form is separated from the matter. And then it was talking about angels, really, so it said that things that subsisted in their own being, couldn't lose their being. And I saw these chains on Canal Street that you could unwind, and I thought, oh, that's like antithetical to what chains are supposed to be. And it was when this was part of like a show that I made, maybe it was like in '84 or something like that, and it was when we had invaded Nicaragua. And so I was thinking like the revolutionaries' ideas were things that subsisted in their own being, and that but I really like this thing about separating form from matter. And so like lots of my work has this this thing of like taking something apart and just looking at one system at a time. This is from the same show. But I like this piece. It's not, maybe it's like a direction I didn't go or something. But I like it anyway. And so it's a stock, and then it's a basin with a towel, and it was, the whole show maybe was about torture and stuff. And so this one was like the intolerance of Christianity and the tolerance of like Mary Magdalene washing the feet of Christ, and that they should, it was called Talk to Yourself, that they should kind of talk to themselves and let everybody else alone. This is just a little multiple that I really like, but there's not so much to say. It's just a tongue sticking in an ear. And these are These were organs called second choice. I had been in Berlin, and the government there gave me some money to make something, and I got a little bit extra, and I went and bought these fancy dishes, but I bought the second choice. And I was thinking, it was like when people were selling organs, and people all this talk about like artificial insemination and, you know, growing people in dishes and all the stuff. And so I was thinking like, oh, this is like when it's the factory seconds version, like people buying glasses at Woolworths and stuff, and that it's like working class people where they're just kind of being like dumped. The organs are then just being dumped in their bodies, and that so there's like too many spleens or too many livers, or they're missing hearts, or just that's this kind of like sloppiness. I used to be that I didn't like medicine, so a lot that was like a big impetus for my work for the first couple of years too. This is the first glass piece I made. It was a glass stomach. And I was originally, I think, going to stuff it like this woman told me about that her brother had these x-rays. He was a doctor, and he had these x-rays where people like consume things. And I always thought that's really interesting, like people literally consuming the world, you know, that they swallow pens and pencils and paper clips, and they're like compulsively consuming the world. And I think I wanted to originally make them that they, you know, were filled with stuff, but I just liked it like that in the end. And this is the one of the first bronze things I made, and I made it, and then I put pee in like a vat or something, and I patinaed them with my pee. And it's a male and female urogenital system. This is the male one. And I made it because of this Japanese book with all articulated parts of the body. And I saw this and I thought, oh, it's a phallus. And I thought like, oh, it's interesting for me that I was seeing language before I was seeing like an object, like having actual experience. I was just seeing things through language or something, and it cracked me up. So I made that one and that one. I thought looked like a moth or something. That has the kidneys. And the man had a full bladder. And my thing won't work. Can you make the slide go? Oh. This was a paper piece, and it was like my most attempt to try to be didactic, because I'm not good at it, and always think like that your work has kind of its own version of what it's doing, and you have to just kind of go along with it. But this was for about 5 or 6 years I was part of a support group for some anti-imperialist revolutionaries who were in prison in North America, and it was what was taught really to me was that was like the kind of necessity of their hearts, like made them put their lives into action. And it was called From Heart to Hand. And it's paper with paint. This is just a lousy photograph of a photograph. But this is from that same first show that the stock is from, and it was called Game Time, and it was 12 pints of blood stacked like pins, like, you know, like that people were very free in how much they expend other people's blood and stuff. And this is a womb that's in bronze that's half, that says if you're about 9 months pregnant, and it's hinged, and so it goes like this, it opens up. And so it was sort of about like being empty, full at the same time. And also it's based on the Nuremberg Maiden, like Iron Maiden, where there's all those spikes inside and they close you in on them. These were drawings that I did after that of uteruses, empty uteruses. And this was for me a piece that I really loved. That was, well, I was going to make a whole top of a body, and the vertebrae are really complicated mathematically, and I quit. And so I just fired these, and then they all broke. And this friend of mine used to say that all the girls, no one would pay attention to them because they couldn't make work that would stick together, because we all made work out of cardboard and stuff, and that was falling apart. And I was really angry, and I thought, I really tried to make my work like very substantial for a couple of years, because I thought like it was okay if somebody thought I was a really shitty artist, but it wasn't okay if they thought that just because of the material quality. And then this piece broke, and I kind of first thought, oh, it's really true, you can't keep anything together. And then I got crazy glue, and I glued it back together, and then I thought, now I really start like shoving it down people's throats or something, that that you make it really like what's used against you, and you really like push it all the time, that it becomes an asset to you or something like that. So I made, and this was nice because I was really into looking at the time at like tantric art and medieval art, which are two of my favorite things to look at then. And I thought it was like that, but then also like being in New Jersey, listening to heavy metal, you know, like making things in your basement or something like that, like being a chop shop or something. And but then I started making everything kind of really fragile and kind of flimsy, or just kind of teetering on whether it can stay together or not. This is just a pelvis. I thought it was when I was going to have that and a baby upside down, like how its head goes through the pelvis when it's born. But oh, that too I quit on. So someday I'll finish it. But now it's just like that. But it's pretty. And this, in 1982, Amy Talbin from the kitchen asked me to make an installation there, and I had never made an installation or done anything practically, and so I was totally surprised. But I made an installation about women and domestic violence, and it was about women that had chosen, kind of, to me, like an affirmative action at some point or other, to kill the people that were causing them physical harm. And it didn't seem like maybe the best solution, but it certainly seemed like a valid one. So it was texts from people and texts from the newspaper. And then these I made with David Vonarovich, and we went to this doctor's office in Brooklyn, and he let us use his x-ray machine. So we made these kind of like, you have to make everything in silhouette, like Egyptian stuff. And so it was us beating each other up. And then later I made them into light boxes. These were other, that later I made into light boxes too, and they were like, we made slides in movies of us covering ourselves in blood and then kind of double and single exposing it. But I like this one because then all the wires were like a heart or something. Oh, this is old. That's from that same show, because in the medieval time they had these skulls on chains that they would chain to people's necks. And I thought it was really funny. I mean, it's like if you were disobedient somehow or other, that they didn't like you. But to me, I thought it's really funny because I thought, like, all your life, or for me, most of it, there are voices in my head always yelling at me that I'm not doing something right. And I thought it's really nice if you take that and then have to carry that physically, like you make it physical outside of you, that you see how heavy that weight is in your own life. So it's like, yeah, to make a physical example. This is, I went to Mexico to see the Day of the Dead, and up till then, like, everything I had done was pretty much about death somehow. And it was so inspiring being there, like, to see such a live culture, that I came back, and this was the first thing I did, and I made it for the day of my mother's birthday. I made the constellations of the sky on that day, and it was like that we're the ones who dream the universe or something, or that we're something that actively is moving outward, rather than that we're these funnels coming in, like that we're making the reality. This is just a byproduct of an installation I made at the clock tower once. That was from after being in Mexico. I made this room that was all covered with tongues, because I liked how they used body parts as architectural motifs, like they had in the Yucatan, I forget which temple it was, but they have this big hook nose corn god, I think, and I thought that was really wonderful, like just like playing with the body as decoration or something. But this is just a hand and a tongue. That was another piece called Speak to Yourself, just about like different languages. These are hard to see. These are called nervous giants, even if you can't see them, and they're stitch drawings of nervous systems and different systems in the body from medieval drawings, because they seem much more accurate to how you actually like experience your life than modern drawings. And they also are like that, the nervous system, or that we're like in this electrical system, so like the stitching is kind of like going on and off or something. I like wall banners or tapestry a lot. This was in this same, that was in the same show as this, and this was called Black Madonna, and it was a rubber cast of a drawing in clay of the lymph system, which looks like rosary beads or prayer beads when you look at it up close, because it has these kind of knots and then skinny lines, and it was pinned to the wall like a dissected butterfly. And so for I guess the first couple of years I made stuff about the organs, and first I made like microscopic stuff, and then they were paintings, and then I made these organs, and then I kind of started thinking about systems, I guess, and then I made these in the 80s, I guess. All these rock and roll clubs were asking people to make paintings or make art shows in rock and roll clubs because people weren't going to them enough. And so I got to make one in a club, and it had a really long bar, so I made a painting of the tongue to the anus above the bar. And then that was the first version. Then this was the second version, and it was it's in ductilite iron, and I wanted it like prison bars, because I've always had problems with weight problems my whole life, so I always think about how your digestive system, like in my deluded thinking, is like a prison or something. And then when I made it, I never kind of really got to see it till we put it up, and then we put it up, and then I realized it was really much more accurately like a radiator. Like, it didn't look like bars, and that a radiator was like a much more accurate version of what your digestive system, how it was functioning in your body. And that I thought, oh, it's good sometimes art makes you stop being so delusional in your life or something. Not all the time, but sometimes it lets you. Oh shit, that's stupid. This is another one. It's a paper digestive system. So the tongue kind of hangs up at your tongue, and then everything goes falling down. Then this one I made last year because, it's like how the painting was to begin with. But so this is in bronze now. It's just from the tongue to the anus going straight, because it's like about 30 feet long in your body. And there's so, that's like where language and sex and digestion, there's so many things that are happening. Like if you just look at that one system that are surrounding your entire life. And then from that, I sort of got into this orifice stuff. This also you probably can't see, but it's paintings on glass, like enamel fire paintings on glass of the different orifices. And then I made this piece, which is these jars, and on them I just try to think of words of fluids that come out of your body, and some come out of your body under adverse circumstance, and some come out under like good kind of benefic circumstance or something. And that I thought I wanted to originally do it because I didn't believe in anything, and I was depressed about that. And so I thought I wanted to make something like the days of hours, like the books of hours and stuff. And I thought, well, I could at least like look at these fluids as like a way to pay attention to my life, to make like a meditation around them. And so first I made it as a calendar, and then I made it as these jars. And then so it said like urine, pus, vomit, diarrhea, semen, saliva, milk, I don't know, a bunch more. And I thought like they were just clear jars, but they were etched on them. And then it was like that your imagination fills them up anyway, so you don't really have to fill them up. And then I made this set, which was mirrored, so that you saw yourself always in it. You couldn't dislocate yourself. And then this is a print. It's a photolitho of, it's called A Man, and it's male orifices. And it's like coming down from heaven, like a carpet or something. This is a different version of it. And so then I mixed them up a little bit, so different parts would be together. And this was a drawing of sperm, as if they were like paper towels. Because, you're one in millions or something. And so I like the idea of like that you could just kind of pull them down forever. And then they have these like glass balls too that are like eggs. That was like like the idea of having a sister piece with something that you could put that like in a different part of your house, and it was like searching for them. And then this was another sperm and egg one that was like a marriage. It had like a little string that went around it, but then really like the egg just stayed in one place and the sperm stayed in another place. And the egg it's like the biggest cell in your body. And then these I made eventually into glass. And so like each one's about, I don't know, 8 or 10 inches. I think I have a close-up of them. And they were nice because we made them all by hand. They were made first in wax, so they were cast like bronze or something. But we could put our fingerprints on all of them. Because first because I thought it's sexy, and then also that it's like DNA or something, that it's all unique. And then this is originally they were shown on a black rubber mat where they all went around in a circle like a vortex or chasing their tails. And then once they were shown like this, so they were just all lined up against the wall, like a gutter. And then I made these ones last year, which I don't like the way this is photographed, but it's like a big egg in aluminum, and then these are white bronze that they look like machine parts, like car stuff. This came after making some other stuff, but it's sort of one of those things about like separation of matter and form. So it's like all the insides are outsides and the outsides are just shape. And this is just a jar with a bosom in the bottom, and the water magnifies it. These were made all sort of at one time. All my friends started having babies, so I thought I'd better take advantage of it. And I cast them all when they were 9 months pregnant, and they're up at like eye level. So I thought I called them shields, but I thought they were like monitors or God's eyes or something, like something watching you. And what was nice is you can see where the baby's heads are inside. But I like the idea too of like the insides protruding outward. Like, and this is like where it protrudes out, like it doesn't come out, but it's like underneath the surface. That's just one of them close up. These are some mammary gland drawings. I was trying to make kind of psychedelic looking drawings, or trying to, and they're on Japanese tea chest, so the ink makes it all like candy kind of. This is hard to tell. This is a piece of paper with a photolitho, and it's all paper glued together and then cut out like snowflakes, like when you're a kid. And then there's the photolitho of an asshole on it. So then I was thinking like how you can have any part of the body represented, and then the whole thing becomes the body, like it locates that whatever it's attached to means the body or something. Oh. This was another one. This was my last boyfriend, and he had an accident, and so he had all this stridation on his leg, and I thought it was sort of pretty because it was like those lines on boxes, like for cornflakes and stuff now. But it was also the thing like the pregnancy, like where the insides are like kind of oozing up to the surface in an uncontrollable manner. This is from a long time ago. It's a pelvis in clay with the baby's head coming out, and kind of about like being kind of inside and outside, kind of hanging between the two. This is another piece, the same sort of a baby just hanging by the umbilical cord, and it's lower than the feet, so it's precarious. And these are made out of paper. This is another paper piece that I was thinking, like if your pee was solid, or I got into it for a couple of years thinking about the things that leave your body, like when you're you, like at what point are you in kind of locating yourself or something, and that always you're being renewed and always you're leaving things behind and the stuff. And probably I don't like letting go of much of anything. So I was thinking, like, if all this stuff kind of trails around behind you, and this was like thinking if your pee was a solid, and so I made it like a volcano, and then at the bottom it looked like a witch's hat a little bit or something, and then I cut snowflakes on the bottom of the paper. This is another piece. This is, I think, the first Virgin Mary piece I made. And I really am very interested in the Virgin Mary for, I don't know, many reasons, but I just like her, basically. And one thing that I always find that I like about her is that she always stands with her arms open, like it's a stance of like compassion and vulnerability, and I always thought like I can't afford that in my life yet, or something, that I didn't feel safe enough in my life for that. And so it's like standing like that, but then all your intestines are falling out, like all your insides are falling out, and they're running across the floor about 30 feet. And so in a way it's like the anger of that position too, of like having to always be that. This was another piece about things coming out, and originally I was going to make a whole bunch of bodies that all had like different orifices leaking, and then I didn't have time, and then I tried to make the two together, just have all the leaking orifices, and it looked terrible. So it ended up being just that the woman has milk falling down from her nipples, and the man has semen running down from his legs. And it was sort of about things being thwarted, or having like all this desire and life in you and having like no place to go. So like the woman's milk nurtures nothing, and the man's seed propagates nothing, like everything just goes nowhere, and that there's no relationship. And then this was funny because I showed it a year later, and I used this red wax, like I painted the outside with beeswax, and then inside that it had red wax because it was harder. And then it turned out that the red wax pigment isn't stable, or that's a dye or something, so it all started bleeding to the surface. And then when I showed them here, everyone kept saying like, oh, it's so violent and battered, and it has all this stuff about being beaten up or something. And I met them sort of like forlorn or something, but it was really funny how like it just took on its own life, like it started doing its own thing. And then I like them too because I thought they're like, when I first saw them for the first time, like standing on stands and stuff, that they were like the robbers on the side of Jesus, like, you know, just kind of like they're just hanging there, and they don't have any like ideological commitment or something to anything, that they're just like these schmoes, kind of, that something's happening to. You know, they're sort of like the irresponsible victim or something like that. That life's just kind of happening on. This is I like because I have this friend Robin Winters who's an artist, and he was doing some work on his house, and some guys were there, and they left these porn magazines of women lactating. And I had never really thought about women lactating because I don't have children. And so we went up to Times Square, and I realized, like, first I was like totally ashamed to go to Times Square and buy pornography. So like I went with a man, and I made it like very clear that I was very distant from this. And the guy said, "Oh, are you in a women's group or something?" And and I bought these magazines, and then like I don't know, I was just looking at them and stuff, and then I thought, oh, they're really incredible, that it was really sexy, because it was like we were these fountains of life, like that life is like emanating out of us, and like what we like to do with other people is exchange those fluids. And so I thought that it was like actually this very kind of like life affirming position or something. And then also I thought it's really good to go to porno stores, because it's like those images are always used to represent you or something, but then you're always taught not to have access to them. So it's like very empowering if you go to have access to that. This is another piece. It's a woman holding her bosoms, and then all her milk's coming out, and it's sort of, I have all these like fear of motherhood fantasies or something. This is one of them, that like you're not allowed any boundary. Like you have to just be boundless, and you have to be everything. And it's probably what I want my mother to have to be all the time. But so it's a sculpture like that. And it's just because I got into twisting paper a couple years ago, totally obsessively. So everything has paper twisted on it. This was after I made the hanging bodies. I made this one for a show, and it's like that. It's a woman peeing, and they're glass beads. And this is a woman shitting. And it goes like that. This is from last year. This was some of these were from a show that was sort of about like how people get psychic, like how psychically you're killed or something. So this one was like about trying to control like self-mutilation or something, like sitting on your hands or trying to have like controlled behavior or something. And this is a latex body with a glass spine. I think that's the picture of it. Those pictures were taken by a museum, that's why they're good. This is another, it's a paper body with a wax spine. And this is when I studied to be an EMT. My sister wanted to do it, and so I kind of just went along and said, okay, I'll do it too. And then the thing that I really liked the best out of it was when the guy said that, like, when you die, like, you lose internal pressure, and like everything just falls down. And I really like have some like thing about gravity that I really like. And so they said, like, people, when they lay around dead for a while, they get this kind of bruising, this like pooling of blood at the bottom of the body. And I thought that was really great. And so like that's been like in my mind for about 5 years. So it came up like this thing, it's called blood pool. And then just at the end, then I thought, to put the spine on it. That's like sort of about overexposure or something. This is another one of these mother things. It's a cast of a friend of mine when she was 9 months pregnant. It's called Trough. This is a little one called Basin, just a negative of a body. And these are paintings on glass too that are fired, that are, also about like kind of being halfway here and halfway not here. I made like a whole bunch of birth stuff for a while because I thought I had to kind of try to get here more concretely. This is more of the paper bodies. And then they were surrounded by all these red drawings so that you were like submerged in the blood, and then they were kind of floating off someplace. This is another one called Blood Pool. I had a sister that died a couple of years ago, and she was writing down the symptoms of things that were happening to her when she was dying. And one thing she wrote was called, she said, blood noise. And I thought that was a really beautiful title. So I made this. I went to India once, and I made this piece there. And this is my favorite piece that I made ever, sort of. And it's just like I made all those soft paper bodies, and then I made hard paper bodies, and then this was just together. And it's mean. This piece is mean to me, so I like it. This one's called The Mother, and it's casts of my mother's feet, and then it's all the tears on the floor, and they're all like enlarged, oversized, in glass. And it's a little glass paperweight. This is one of about 10 pieces. This was the first one I made, so it's the only one I got it together to get a photograph of. But there are these like shelves, and the shelves are like these things trying to contain the body or make the body obey. And then this one, there are these busts, and the bosoms are kind of falling down over the edges, and it's like it won't obey. And then some, they have bloody noses, and some they have tears, and some have the intestines falling out, and some have their hair kind of all going wild. So they're all different, like defiances or something. And I had this guy that lived with me, and he would always say it's so disgusting because I didn't brush my hair, and I would like sit periodically and take the knots out by hand, and he'd say there's hair all over the house all the time. And so then he went back to Germany, and I started saving all my hair to send him as a present. And I told I had a big ball of it, and I told my mother, and my mother said, "Oh no, Kiki, you should save it for your artwork." And then, so I said, "Oh, that's a better idea." And so I had these big balls, and then all of downtown is like filled with grain moths. So then all these grain moths came and were coming out, living in my hair and coming out of it. And then I thought, oh, it's like another example of this life growing on death. And it was like how it keeps coming to you, improving itself or something. But then later I made some other hair. I made this thing. It's my first. I got asked at ULA, this place in Long Island that makes prints, to make those things aren't part of it, but to make a print. And I made this print of my head with my hair of like an unfold, like if you unfolded your body like a topographical map. And then this was I made all these byproduct prints from that. And this is like one of making making sculptures, but with Xerox print transfer on them, like making hybrid things. And then in printmaking, they use the felts, and I thought, oh, I really want to make some felt. And my neighbor had a beauty parlor, so she saved all the hair for me. But like white people's hair, it doesn't mat very well, and so I had to go get sheep's wool, and I made all this wool, like spun wool and stuff, and I made this piece. I made 2 of them because I wanted to keep one, and they're called dowry cloths, and they're just felted, matted hair and sheep's hair together, and then sewn. And I was thinking, like, dowries have this really like bad thing about them, about like women as chattel or something like that, but they also, to me, always has this very beautiful idea that you're making preparation for your life, like from the beginning of when you're born or something, you're making preparation for your future all the time, and that you're trying to, like if you have a marriage or something, you're bringing to it all the objects, and that the person is sort of incidental because you don't know who it's, I mean, maybe in some cases you know who it's going to be, in other cases you don't know who it's going to be, but it's like how you're going to participate in your own life. And then I like it as a joke because it's like a hair cloth too, so that it's like the flip side. This one was, I was thinking about things that mark time in your body, like when you have your period that marks 28 days or something, and your fingernails growing and your hair growing. And I was thinking, like, if your hair grew your whole life, then it would be this like evidence of like your stature in a community or something like that. And so I made this cast of my mother's head, and I put all this long hair on it, and it was nice because really she had a crew cut, so it was sort of like a joke. But and I made it like a waterfall. But anyway, I mean, your hair doesn't grow endlessly. It only grows to certain lengths anyway, so it's not really accurate. Oh, maybe that's the end. Or maybe I think I have some more in another one, but hold one, let me find out 1 second. I know, but how much more time? Oh, okay. Sorry, I just wanted to find out how much time I'm supposed to talk more, whether I should speed it up or not. This was another hair thing that I made. I was thinking, oh, like if your pubic hair grew really long, that it would be like, it was like this mane or like desire. It was like this desire cloth or something like that. And so I made this sculpture like that. And I had these boyfriends at the time, and I would ask them, oh, don't you think that's sexy? Don't you think that's sexy? And none of them did. So I thought, later for them. And then I was thinking, like, I really like women that have facial hair because it like mixes up all the gender stuff. So I started making all these drawings of women with facial hair. And then I got asked to make a print in Illinois at a college, like go there one day, draw something on a stone and go home. So I made this print of like combining like the hair on a man's stomach with a woman's pubic hair. And this was something I made on an airplane on the way to a show once, because I needed to do something because you need to twist when you're on airplanes for long periods of time. So it's just like a head with hair. And this is a print called All Souls. That's just 2 different fetuses blown up and down, different sizes. But it's like a thing about multitudes. Like for me, it really freaks me out that everybody's here like in the same place and that everybody's having separate lives, and like you can't know them all and consume them all or be all of them all at the same time. And like that, just that thing of like that there's generation or that there's multitudes or something. Well, this is something totally different. This is a multiple I made. That's now I'm trying to make things like I really like decorative stuff the best, and so now this is sort of what I've been working on a little bit, is making things that are really gushy, decorative. Because people hate decoration, and so I thought it's like good also to put it out there. This is just a sculpture because it's too complicated to say what it is because it takes too long. But it goes like that, and then there's a barometer inside, and you only see it in the X-rays. And this is these little dolls I made. It's this guy in Berkeley has this theory called Lucy's Daughters, and it's that you can test genetically going like from daughter to mother, daughter to mother, daughter to mother back, and it says that everybody has to share the same mother, and he calls her Lucy, and she's like, I don't know, a couple 100,000 years ago in the like south of Morocco or something, like South Sahara or something, and that, you know, it's just like about like that same thing about multitudes, that if you have 1 or 2 people you can make multitudes, and then also about like that if you're all related, that you have a different kind of responsibility or to your family than you do to other people, so that you have to think about things different. Oh, that's the wrong way, sorry. Oh, this was a really early, this was still from when my father died, but I think these were still, this whole section was like things that come out of the body. So this was one of like funguses and molds growing on your body, or like, you know, that you have all these little lice that live in your eyelashes, or I like to think about parasite-host relationships. This is a different section. This is skin. This was, I got this photograph in a museum of bog people. There were people that were put into the peat bogs in the Iron Age, and their bones decalcified, and so they were just like skins. And I had never wanted to do things like outside, make external stuff, because I thought it like was like portraiture, and you could always separate it and say like, oh, that's not happening to me. Because like if you're making things inside, like livers and stuff, like people don't have such a like sense of individuality when they're looking at livers, but when they're looking at like people's, you know, like physical features, outside stuff, you do. But like seeing this, and then like, you know, thinking like you're as open as outer space, like physically, I mean, that you're this big, just porous space. So first I made these clay ones that were just like envelopes. Not the ribs, but these other, you can't really see them good, but. And then I made this one. I was really excited because I was in Germany and I came back and I thought, when I was a kid, they gave us paper balloons. And so they were like this weightless body, how you could make a body that was just the outside, just the skin with no substance. And so I went and I bought this Japanese paper, and I spent, I don't know, about a month making it. And then after a while I got really sick of looking at it, so I hung it up on the ceiling. And at that time, like many people in my community had died from AIDS, and I thought like how it functioned like that in my life, of how there was this presence of absence in my life of the people that were like kind of very concretely not there, that you didn't have access to. So Nan Golden had a show at Artist Space called Witnessing Our Vanishing several years ago, and then I put this piece in, and then all those other ones kind of came out of this one. All the paper stuff. This is another thing that I had the idea sort of at the same time, but it took me a while to get it done. And it was, I made a cast of my neighbor. And and then chopped them up into little bits, and it's like the surface of the average adult. Like if you look in a book, they say it's about 3,000 square inches, and it's probably like an average white male adult. But anyway, it's like these little squares of stuff, and so it's like I was like in Indian miniatures and stuff when they like have people fucking and they make them fit into cubes and stuff. That it's very beautiful, like this like desire to manipulate the body like that. And this was just in 2 sections because I couldn't get out of my house any other way, but I liked it that way in the end. That's out of focus and close up. And these are a bunch of prints that I'm working on now that I was trying to make things about kind of voyeurism and shame in your body. Like, you know, my body's like sort of a wreck from like gaining and losing 20 pounds every year or something. And so like I have all the stretch marks, and then I'm getting like varicose veins and all this stuff now. And so I thought like I wanted to make this thing that was like pornography a little bit, like making small prints that you could look at, like secretly look at like other people's bodies decaying. And then at the same time kind of like try, for me, like an attempt to try to like hang out with what makes you the most ashamed about your life. You know, that if you can kind of hang out in public with that, then you can't be owned as much by it in your own like daily existence. So that's one, and that was another one. They're just a bunch of them. These are 2 backs in bronze, and they were, I was reading about, I think, Ted Bundy, or it was one of the guys that like killed lots of women, and one thing he did, the way they caught him was that he left his teeth marks in the people, and I read that and it really scared me because it felt like so human. It felt so like someplace really deep in you, that like desire to bite other people. You know, and then that was like a really extreme version or something. But so we made these backs, and then we kind of bit them all up, and we let them kind of lie around in the studio getting wrecked for a year. And then, so they're a little bit like the bog people fantasies too or something. And then when I started making these outside figure things, I started making, you know, like then if you get outside too, then like all of a sudden you're in like, you have sexes, and you have genders, and you have age and race, and you have all this stuff all of a sudden that you have to deal with. And also you have to deal with like art history and like sculpture history and the, like history of representation, figurative representation and stuff. And I realized that for me the most strong part that I had affinity to was like doll making, or doll, like being like a girl child making dolls. So I made like for a year, so I made all this, like I just wanted to make fairy tale stuff kind of. And this is called Little Sisters, and it's just 2 sisters without their head or feet, and they have glass hands sitting on a couch. This was another one that, I don't know, I bought this cloth and I said I had to make it for my mother, but I meant like my real mother, but then also sort of the Virgin Mary mother, or some other kind of mother, or some godmother, or something like that. And I made this thing, and then I thought, oh, I have to sew, I sewed this red chiffon inside, so it's like a funnel, and then I made casts of my niece's feet that so she was much smaller, so she could stand underneath it and not be seen, like being in a volcano or something. And this was another thing from the same time, and it was a picture, I think this will focus, but it's a picture of a pubescent girl, and then she's kind of looking up into the future, like looking at bodies of older women, like how, like that you have all this possibility and unknownness of what you're going to become. This was just another print of, I made a whole bunch of really big ones, but it was just from that same book of naked bodies or something. And this one I liked it because I just cut it off at the girl's vagina, so there was like these feathers of like under, you know, that they're just partially revealed. This is a set of twins' hands. This is from last year. This is was part of a whole show, but it was this is called Nuit. It's for like the Egyptian goddess of the night, and that the sun passes through her every day, and so like either she's shitting or giving birth. But I was trying to make things like just, I don't know, I can't explain it. This is from that same show. I started making these kind of big doll puppets or something. This is a piece like where the one sitting on her hands and the shitter were in, of like putting yourself in a position where there's an inevitability that someone has to like walk over your hands or something. So I saw a debutante on TV, and she, you know, how you have to curtsy down really low, and it made me really laugh. And I thought, yeah, it was nice to kind of put yourself like in that position. It was just like you can't help getting kicked or something. So, you know, that you have to know what you're doing or something. This is one of a girl hanging. And this one I showed in Canada because I thought here everyone would just, it looked like Carrie. We made it and then we started laughing because, but I showed it in Canada with these little dolls and this print, and it was made like 1 year after they had killed all the women in Montreal. And it was also the day without art. It was December 1st, the show opened. So it sort of had both of those contexts to it when it was made. This was made when we were in Nicaragua, and I was trying to make just like an anatomical model of a muscle man, but I was too impatient. I wanted to paint it before it was done, and then I painted it, and then I thought, oh, it was like a more accurate version of being a man this way, ripped apart, then put together. These are just muscle heads. It's just a print of the muscles. And then this one, we made a flower blanket, so it's the same print, but then there's this like shroud over it. And this is my favorite thing I made, or besides the other favorite thing. This one, this is a sculpture of the Virgin Mary, and this was a show in Vienna, and where all the other figures, it was like the backs and the mother's tears and the Nuit piece and that woman hanging there, maybe one or two other things, and all of them like you didn't have any access to, like either they turned their backs to you or you were shunned, or they were kind of immaterial. And then, but she was like the only one that made it like presente, you know, that was like really present there in the room. And originally she was going to have a big pile of flesh that sort of because it always seems to me like the Virgin Mary is robbed of like first her sexuality, like her inherent right of her own sexuality, but then like, yeah, always robbed of being here physically. So this was like a, I don't know, like a defiant version of it or something, saying that she kind of retains her, like demands like to retain her existence or something. That's it close up. That's it, like within the room of the whole thing. Yeah, there was that flower shroud and a bunch of stuff. These are just casts of dead people, of the muscles. And then I wanted to make my own. This is sort of what I've been doing now, is I wanted to make my own. And I never really thought about muscles or cared about them until I made that piece. And then, so I went in Santa Fe, I went and made these clay heads, and then I bought brisket and different stuff and like cut it all up and put it, like pinned it on the face like how the muscles are in your face, and made these casts from it. So that was one, and that was one. And then I started making arms. Like I want to make a whole body, but I have to do it slowly. So these were arms, and then that's one. And I started making pictures, so then I showed someplace all the photographs of them. And then they turned out like that in metal. That's one. These are just other metal stuff of making like silver and bronze together. Like, you know, like in the Mideast, they mix lots of like coppers and brasses and silvers and stuff. I like it. Oh, and then these are things I was making now too, of making kind of like trying to make things between the inside and like I didn't want to get stuck outside or get kind of locked on the outside of the body, that I wanted to make these things that kind of go back and forth. So these were just kind of things of mixing up body parts. And this is like a leg with daisies on it. And that's an arm with the ear. And then this is what I'd end with, but this is what I'm just making now in my studio. I have a show in a month, and I was trying to make pieces like I've started now sort of slowly. I have a piece in the Whitney, and I wanted to start making pieces that were about relationships, and mostly all of these are so for kind of like mother-daughter relationships, but they're all just the same people. And this one is like she's going to have hair coming down, and the other one will have like her, this is her spine, that she'll have all those twisty things coming out of her spine, and then they're connected between the spine and the hair. And this is another one with a woman standing, and then with all the organs coming out of her. And this stuff I was trying to make really decorative. This is another, it's a queen sculpture it's like plaster with silver leaf on it, and then all these sequins sewn onto burlap, so it's like a train. So she carries this long train or something. And also I started making things with glass size. It's like something I'll go through. And so they're not really good photographs, but they're okay. So that's that. That's plaster with shellac on it. And then this is a new Virgin Mary. That's you can't see her eyes too good. I had to go buy a big dick for making a sculpture, and we went there, and they had these vaginas that glowed in the dark, and I thought it was like really great. And I bought 3 of them, and so then I had this sculpture that was always like this kind of god or something up on the wall, or Virgin Mary up on the wall, and so like we put her vagina in, but it was nice too because you have to make it really flat. It's not like your vagina isn't so flat out like that. And then I got those glass eyes, so we put these eyes. And the eyes, I think I have a picture of the vagina, but not the eyes. But the eyes, it's like she's looking down and looks really like forlorn, kind of like. And so I thought, I just call it the Virgin, that it's more like kind of being like pre-sexually active, and you're just kind of going like, oh God, what's going to happen to me? Like, like you don't know what's happening. Kind of like, I really like that. Like in figurative sculpture, there's like 90% of everything is just like women lounging around naked, and like, but that's like a really small percentage of people's lives. And I wish it was like more of my life, but it seems like there's this enormous space to like fill in your life in there, and so. A lot of it for me is that I'm still in some, like, a lot of it's kind of dealing with pubescent issues or something like that, that still are very live in my life or something like that. So I like that of this girl kind of like standing in terror or something. And then these, I thought I'd show because you can't see them at all. This is one thing, and this is another, and they're big flower blankets. Like, I always made all this blood and gut stuff, and then I went to the horoscope, and the woman told me like that everything's going to change in my life, and how I just have to kind of go with it, and how it'd be like unrecognizable in a couple of years that it's the same person making stuff. So like all I want to do now is make like this kind of flower, kind of really fluffy, making birds and butterfly stuff, and I get really terrified. I think, oh God, this is like the end of this. What are you going to do? And but I don't know, I just try to go along with it. So I thought I'd just like leave it in this dark thing. So thank you for listening to me talk for so long. And talk to you guys. Like it seems that what decorative arts is about like people's real love affair with the physical world, and a kind of like celebration of that love, and you get to see people's like that they take like the labor, like they take like the physical energy or something out of their bodies and like put it into objects, and it's. I don't know, to me that's a really interesting transformation. Or, I mean, like here, if you're standing here, like there are all these beautiful lights up there and stuff, and that seems really important, that love. And like to get to see that, and then to try to, I don't know, to me I always just liked it the most.
You said in an interview somewhere that maybe I'm making a wrong association of decorative stuff with what you called femme stuff. but that was scary to put in.
Well, it's also that it's something that you're punished for. You know, that you're punished for, like things that are kind of attributed, like traditionally attributed to female, like female activities, and then also just things that are attributed to like kind of being fluffy and, you know, this like stuff that you're punished for that also. And so it seems like then to take, just that thing about taking what you're punished for and embracing it. I mean, not for everybody, because some people don't like, you know, like, I mean, it's like just, you know, what people like in their life, but I think, like, for me, I'm very comfortable in it, so it's like I want to embrace it, and then, like, do it aggressively outside, you know, because you have to make more space for, like, you to live in. I mean, you have to keep trying to make space for your life to exist in, whereas, like, America especially is like a place where it tries to narrow experience, and you have to keep like pushing out that you have possibility to live in your experience.
One technical question: the life-size cast pieces, are they cast
from people's bodies.
From a model? You use models?
Yeah, or just people.
You mean like friends or studio assistants?
Younger people have less money, basically. Sometimes we have volunteers, but for the most part, it's just, you know, who's more broke. Because it's not really that much fun. I don't think it's very good for you to get cast. It kind of, I think it cuts off your circulation and makes you spaced out. But and it's very bad for men because their hairs all get caught.
Do you see a relationship between your work and the work of earlier modernist sculptors? I mean, I'm thinking of, well, Rodin's body fragments, and when you showed the leg, I was thinking then of Giacometti.
Yeah, I love all that stuff.
And then I was thinking also of Eva Hesse. Do you connect yourself directly to any of these artists? I mean, do you think they've really had an effect on your work, or more distant?
Yeah, but I don't probably think about it that much. I mean, I don't like have to think about it, so I don't, or something. I mean, but like I like looking at. No,
Everyone really hates artist narratives, you know.
No, but for me, it's like I really love looking at. Like, I mean, if I look at Rodin, then I mean, mostly I like all the seam lines. You know, because he kept all those seam lines in, and they're so like effective for making things or something. And you know, you look at art because you like it, but I don't. Yeah, it's not like to put yourself in like a lineage or something. I mean, you exist after people, and you exist because of their labor, and the possibility, like the amount of space that they take up, and you inherit. You know, like something like Eva Hesse or like all the women that worked in the 70s and stuff, like you inherit the space that they took. So then you take that, then you sort of just take it for granted that you have that space, and then you try to make more space. But, so you exist because of them. But I don't know so much like if I'm trying to make a line that I am in.
How do you teach sculpture? I mean, what kind of assignments do you set students?
I don't know. I'm pretty bad at it, I think. I don't know. We make like last year I really liked art. My favorite assignment was that I told everybody to go buy flowers. They had to bring like $5 of flowers in, and we were in this basement in a plaster room, and then everybody made like flower and plaster sculptures. It was really great. I mean, because it was like something that I'm sort of secretly thinking about this flower business. So it's, I don't know, I like making classes where people make things. I like making things with other people the best than telling them how to think.
That sounds like, it sounds like a good thing to do with
It's fun. Yeah, it's fun making. Because like the one thing I really see is like where I can see that I'm older is because I have a longer experience doing things physically. And that sort of, I mean, most of the time I can't, otherwise I'm not sure if I feel any particularly different, but that you actually have like experience making, and you know what things can do, and that's an important thing, I think, is to like be physical.
That makes sense. Do you also, thanks, do you discuss moral and political issues with students?
Yes, I try to subtle leftist persuasion.
I would never have imagined that.
But,
one other question I had is in the piece in the Whitney Biennial, which consists of the blown-up, superimposed photo transparencies that are installed in the light boxes of the bloodied parts of your body and David Wojnarowicz's body. I wondered if in that piece you were bringing up the issue of AIDS, because he was so well known as an AIDS sufferer before he died, if you were introducing the subject of the AIDS tragedy very deliberately in your work.
not really so much in that piece. It was more, like in a certain way, it's just like cannibalizing what's around your house. Just because like you see all the stuff that you love and that you haven't done anything with for 10 years, and then it, like I wanted to make it like a heart, like make this thing about connect.
Oh, so that the wires that were all
that it's all
circulation,
like a life thing. And he was somebody that was really important to me when I was younger. I mean, he was like one of the first people that really supported me and really like actively went out to try to be helpful to me, and was a real inspiration because he was enormously creative person, like one of the most creative people I ever met. So I don't know. David Wojnarowicz. I don't know, I just felt like doing it.
Thank you. Are you aware that questions are being taken from the cards you were given? We forgot to announce that this evening. So if there are more questions, please send them up. There'll be someone circulating, collecting them. Someone's asking how you make the paper sculptures of the human body, the Japanese paper sculptures.
Just cutting and gluing. You know, just take scissors and methyl cellulose, which is like wallpaper paste, and you just cut the paper and glue it, and then cut it and glue it, and just like freehand building.
Well, another person was asking if the paper figures are cast from real people.
Yeah. No, well, some of the hard ones are casts of people's, and they're just like paper mache, newspaper, and methyl cellulose, and then the soft ones are just handmade.
Now I hear someone writing in very tiny handwriting, so I'm going to. You've spoken of bodies being stolen from us, and how once outside the body we enter into historical representation. How do you feel about oppositions, boundaries, such as internal, external, nature, culture, soul, guts, etc.? What about the historical representation of anatomical illustration in relation to difference?
That's a lot of questions in one. Well, what can I say? Boundaries. I have like pretty. I have to work on mine a lot, but you know, most of like a lot of the stuff was kind of like dichotomy stuff, and a lot of times, you know, it's like there's all these dichotomies that are set up, and there's sort of like women and nature and all those things a lot of times get on the bottom. Like it's okay to say that there are like different aspects of things in your life, but like when you're paying in your own personal life or in your social life or something for an imbalance in perception like that, then you have to try to work it. I mean, you have to work towards making like more equilibrium or something.
Another question asked if you were raised as a Catholic.
Yeah, you got it.
And another one commented that a number of the works seemed to focus on the back. The piece with the spinal column made exterior, and the crouching body with the tail of excrement and so on. Is there a reason for this? I mean, does the back seem a particularly vulnerable place?
Yeah, I lots of times try to think like mostly like animals eat out your bellies, like your belly and under your neck. And I don't know, in the last 2 years I was thinking a lot about the vulnerability of your back. And I had gone to Austria to make a show, and it was really upsetting to me being there, and it felt very much about being, which had nothing to do with Austria, but just my experience there, about being kind of like in some abject situation and being like shunned and turned away, and I don't know, so then for like a year or something I made all these pieces where it was both. It was like you were inaccessible then too. If you turn away too, you're inaccessible. But then it was, or like protection or something like that. But then it's a space where you can, I don't know, it's your it's your spine, it's your central nervous system going down your back. So it's, I don't know, yeah, it's just, I like it.
Kiki, did you study science a lot as a younger person, or just?
No, they made me sit at the back of the class because I think I was too animatedly into it when they were cutting things up, or I hated it, or so, or I was like going like, oh, that's terrible, you're cutting animals up, or something, like they'd get some dead fish or something. But no, I'm not at all. I mean, I don't.
But you started reading about the body.
Yeah, but not really that much. It's more just like that. It's the form you're in, and it's how you are experiencing things here, and that like it's not that everybody has like a lot of experience too. I mean, you know a lot about being in your body, so you have like all this just authentic information about it, and it just seems like it's just like a language to talk. Like for me, I don't think I'm ever really talking about the body, but just talking about being in it. Like it's like a user's version or something like that.
Are there any other questions coming up? Kiki, thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening. For more information on the 92nd Street Y, New York, and all of our programs, please visit us at 92ny.org.